Thank you that you've moved in our hearts to want to hear your voice. Um, Open our hearts to hear it again. Help us to appreciate what you've done for us, Jesus, but also um, to see our need for you. As always, whatever I've planned to say, may it be from you, and if it's not from you, may I not say it or it not be remembered, but the things that are from you, use that to your glory. May they be a trumpet in our ear and our mind and our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen. I titled this Unavoidable, because there's a sense here that what's happening in this story is Pilate can't avoid this circumstance. He tries really hard to get out of making a clear stand for Jesus, and he can't do it. And neither can we. I want to encourage us to see this section, because this is the section where Pilate tries over and over and over to release Jesus, and he just can't do it for a variety of reasons. What I want you to see, read this through. That's so weird. Through Matthew 16, where Jesus says, "Whoever would save his life would lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Because what's happening here is Pilate is trying not to lose his life for Jesus. And he can't. He can't have both his life and Jesus. He doesn't get, and this is one of those principles. Once in a while, Jesus says little principles throughout the Scripture, throughout the Gospels, that it's like, this is just the way it is. It is immutable, unchangeable, unavoidable as gravity. You have to account for it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. It will happen. People will either save their life or they will lose it for Jesus. That's it. There is no third option. And as much as we really, really want to believe that there is a way to get around that, there isn't. There's no way around it. There is no neutrality with Christ. You either die for Christ or you live for yourself. That's it. In contrast to Pilate trying to save his life, I would encourage you to read this in light of John 17:1. Remember, this is Jesus right before he goes to the garden, and he's praying, "The hour has come, glorify your Son." And what I want you to hear in this is Jesus wants this moment. Jesus wants this moment of being before Pilate. He wants the cross. Not that he's a sadist and wants to be hurt or humiliated or shamed or all of that. No, but he wants what it's going to result. He's choosing this. Why is this acting so weird? He's choosing to lay down his life for us. He's living this principle. He's giving his life away. As he put in John 7:10, whoever would sit. Why is it doing that? It's so weird. No, it's like I have to click it twice. I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me. Remember that. Jesus is choosing this. Okay? He's choosing to lay down his life. Now let's get into this. Start here, and I'm backing up just a little bit. So Jesus has had this long conversation, this interesting conversation with Pilate about whether or not he's a king. And Pilate doesn't fully understand all of it, but he understands this. Jesus is not a king in the sense that he's a threat to Pilate. He gets that. He doesn't fully understand what he means when he says he's a king, but he's come to the conclusion that he's not a political threat to Caesar. And so he goes back outside and he tells them, look, this charge that he is an insurrectionist and he's a political threat to Caesar is not true. There's no guilt in him. He's basically saying, my judgment is I should not kill this guy. But he doesn't release him. Now, in between here, this next verse is there's a little thing that Luke adds that John leaves out. And it's because once he says, I find no guilt in him, they said, well, he's been doing all this all over the place, including Galilee, which he then goes, oh, Galilee. Pilate thinks, oh, he's from Galilee? Good. Herod will deal with him. So he kind of tries to pass the buck, tries to outsource the issue, just avoid the issue by sending him over to Herod. You can read that in Luke 22. Of saying, I don't want to have to deal with this guy. I don't have to. I've determined he's guilty. They won't let it go, so I'm just going to send him off to Herod and let Herod deal with it. Well, the long short of the story is Herod interrogates him and goes, whatever, go back to Pilate. So he doesn't get away with just simply avoiding the issue. We try to avoid Jesus' the conclusion and doing the right thing by Jesus, just like Pilate, but he can't. So he sends him back, which brings it to the next part of the verse here, which, again, John kind of smooshes it together because it serves his story. He says, well, we have this custom. I should release one man for you at Passover. And so do you want me to release the king of the Jews? So it's like, and what I want you to hear, though, is what he's trying to do is he's trying to go to appeal to them. He's trying to appeal to the crowd and to the priests. Like, this is, I'm going to let you be just really merciful and kind. And see, you want to do this, right? He's a good guy. They cried out again, no, we want Barabbas. Like, wait a minute here. Why do you want Barabbas? Now, just to put some context, Barabbas was an actual murderer, an actual insurrectionist, right? And he really wants to, from Pilate's view, he wants to kill Barabbas because he really is a political threat. And perhaps in his own mind, he's thinking, oh, I'm going to do two things at once. This is going to be beautiful. I'm going to actually be able to get rid of the guy I want, and my hands are clean by dismissing Jesus, releasing Jesus. And all I have to do is convince the crowd, to be their better selves. They're all about morality. Great. There you go. Do the right thing. That's his argument. But they won't have it. They want Barabbas. They want Barabbas. Again, he's trying to avoid the issue. He's trying to be appealing. He's trying to make an argument that you really want to do the right thing, don't you? Oh, he must have thought he was so clever with this. But they go, no. They won't let him off the hook. So they take Jesus inside. And Pilate thinks, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make an example of him. They want blood? Fine. So he flogs Jesus. Soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns to put on his head and arrayed him in a purple robe. And I'm not going to fully describe it. It's extraordinarily brutal. There's a few theological issues I have with the Passion of the Christ, but on one hand, it's pretty accurate. So if you want to know what it really was like, this gives you a sense. Watch that movie. It's a good movie. to help you understand just how horrific this is. Again, there's children, so I'm not going to say it too. It's bad. And so he does this and twists the crown of thorns. I saw the other day that the thorns there were not like little, like rose thorns. No, they're like this big, right? They're brutal. And they're wrapped around his head. And it's like a hat that they would stick on him, and blood would run down his face. And they put on his head, and they put a robe on him, purple robe, saying, "Oh, you're a king? Fine." And then they all came up to him, and they would beat him and hail Jesus and strike him. They did this till they were exhausted. 600 men beating a person up to the point they were exhausted. Isaiah puts it where he was disfigured to the point where he didn't even really look like a human being anymore. What Pilate is doing is he's going, okay, I'm trying to convince them to take the choice of Barabbas over Jesus. I want them to choose Jesus and let me go ahead and kill Barabbas, who I really do want. Even though I know Jesus is innocent and I should just let him go. But I can't do that, because if I do that, people are going to be upset at me. There's a cost to it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to present Jesus back to them as this guy that I've just wrecked. And maybe that will satiate the crowd. Never mind the fact that it's really, if you think about it, morally wrong. Why are you beating up a man that you know is innocent? Think about that. He's punishing someone who's done nothing wrong. By his own mission, he's not guilty. He's innocent. Because Pilate doesn't care about morality. He does not care about justice. He cares about his own preservation. He's playing political games here. He cares more about what the crowd thinks than he does about what is right. And so he went back out to them, says, "See, I'm about to bring out to you that you may know I find no guilt in him." What do you say, Pilate? This is compromise. He's compromising his morals for the crowd. He's not outright denying Jesus. But he's avoiding the cost of just simply releasing Jesus, as he should. He should. He's trying to appease them. It's a little injustice, rather than the big injustice of killing him. Like, that'll work. So Jesus comes out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said to them, "Behold the man. Look at him. Isn't he pathetic? Why would you want me to continue to do this horrible thing to this guy? Come on. Do the right thing, crowd. You know that's what the right thing is to do. You know what Barabbas is. You know he's not that bad. Come on. Less than a week ago, you liked this guy. Why do you want me to continue to beat him up? Do the right thing, crowd." See how he's outsourcing the moral judgment rather than making a stand himself. He's not denying Jesus. He's just avoiding it. So when the chief priests and the officers saw him, crucify him. Nope, we don't want that. We don't want Barabbas. We don't want Barabbas killed. We want Jesus killed. Yeah, give us the murder. Give us the right. Because, and again, remind you, why is it that they care about this? These chief priests and officers? Because Jesus is a threat to their livelihood, to their status. Jesus disrupted their operations of making money. Barabbas didn't. Jesus did. They're prioritizing themselves over doing what is right. So what Pilate says is like, fine, you take it. You do it. This is a hard avoidance. There's a little bit of a, again, this is a little bit of a frustration. He's a little frustrated here. He's like, I have tried to be nice. I have tried to be magnanimous. I have tried to dance and play the political games. I've tried all of these things to try and get you to agree to do the right thing. So fine, I'm just going to go, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with it. You do it. Now, he knows they can't. So he's frustrated. I find no guilt in him. He's continuing to state, well, if there's no guilt in him, Pilate, then why are you allowing this? Why are you allowing this? None of this should be happening. By Roman law, he should be released already before this. He's emotionally working himself up because he can't get away with it. He can't get himself out of it, so he's emotionally losing control. He's being forced to choose, and he doesn't want to choose. It's like when we get frustrated by the culture that forces us to make a stand for Jesus or not, and we get upset because we can't seem to be in the middle. We can't seem to be both seen to be kind and merciful and right, but also stand for Jesus. You want both. You don't get both sometimes. We get resentful and bitter and, yes, angry that you can't be seen and approved by everybody. Nope, you don't get that. Even as much as we try to hedge and soften and compromise, you don't get it. The Jews' response is, but we have a law, and according to that law, he has to die. Why? Because he's made himself out to be a son of God. And so they kind of drop a little bit of the pretense of him being a king, even though he has said that. The real issue, and there are other places that talk about that, the blasphemy argument, because the Son of God, both to the Romans and to the Jews, is a title of divinity. I can say that for two reasons. One, Daniel 9 takes on the title of the Son of Man, is a figure that is a divine figure that receives all kingdoms under the heavens from the Father. So when Jesus calls himself the Son of God, or the Son of Man, he's really saying, I'm a son of God, or also the Messiah. Also, for the Romans, that's a title for Jesus, for Caesar. I am not just a ruler. Oh, no. I'm a divine guy. Sort of like Hercules. Half God, half human. That's the idea. And it's a way of saying I have a divine right to rule over you because, well, I'm better than you. That's the argument. And so when Pilate hears this from the worldview and the political view, he hears, are you trying to say he's like Hercules? You mean I might upset Zeus kind of a guy if I kill this guy? So he's afraid there. He also becomes afraid because, wait a minute, that is a direct challenge to Caesar. Whoa, wait a minute here. So he gets a little worked up. He gets afraid. And notice here, even more afraid. Meaning that what's been motivating Pilate this whole time is fear. Fear. Not righteousness. Fear. Fear of the crowd. And he's afraid of the crowd and the chief priests because that could upset Caesar. And if Caesar's upset at me, I'm going to lose my station. I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose maybe my life. I'm going to lose everything if Caesar comes down on me. Because there's already been riots. He's already not happy with me and not happy with Jerusalem. If I don't keep this place quiet, there's a problem. So he's motivated by this. He's fearing Caesar over Jesus. And so when he hears this, it gets even more. So he brings Jesus, he goes and talks to Jesus. And he goes, where are you from? What, are you really the son of a God? What are you? Because Jesus has been acting oddly. He's not been acting like a guy who knows that Pilate holds his life in his hand. He's been talking to him like another human being rather than deference. Oh, Pilate. No, Jesus has been like, who do you say I am? Why are you asking me this? He's acting differently, and he knows this. And so Jesus doesn't answer him. Pilate continue push. Why don't you talk to me? Don't you understand, Pilate? I can release you. I have your life is in my hand. Then why haven't you done it, Pilate? But Jesus does answer finally. He says, you have no authority over me at all unless it has been given to you from above. He puts Pilate in his place. It could mean, by the way, depending on how Pilate, I think Jesus means from God. Pilate could hear, you don't have any authority unless it's from Caesar. He's above you. Either way, Pilate does not like this answer at all. He's so afraid. And it points out to Pilate, who really is your master? Therefore, he who delivered me over to you has the greater sin. This is a little bit of a side note, but in one sense, we talk about all sins are equal. Technically, no. All sins are condemning. All sins are sin. But there are different degrees of sin, and this is a place where it says that. There are different degrees, and we don't need to talk about which is which. I would say idolatry is probably at the top, not sexual sins. Okay? The point I want to make here is what's happening here is what I started the sermon with. Whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Pilate is trying desperately to save his life. And he's not going to make it. Jesus is giving away his life. And he saves it. Saves us. That's what's happening here. And so after this, he goes back out. From then on, Pilate tries to release him. He tries, and in the Greek, it's clear that he's trying over and over and over and over. He's almost frantic at this point, trying to release Jesus because he's so afraid. He, on one hand, is terrified of the crowd, but he's also reached a point where he's not sure about this whole Jesus guy, but so he's just caught. He's like trying to sit on a picket fence. It doesn't work. Eventually, the Jews cry out, if you release this guy, if you release this man, you are not a friend of Caesar. And anyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar. Now, that is not just throwaway language. It's a specific phrase of the time that says, if you are Caesar's friend, you are an ally, you love him, you are devoted to Caesar. And what they're accusing him is, if you do not crucify him, we will make the case to Caesar himself that you have betrayed him. That's what's happening. They're pulling all the stops out and putting the ultimate pressure on Pilate. Now, when he hears this, notice at this point, all the attempts are done. Everything happens rather quickly at this point because they have ramped up the pressure to the highest point. Pilate, you need to choose. You need to choose now. Are you for Caesar or are you for Jesus? There's no middle ground, period. And so what he does, he brings Jesus out. He sits down in the judgment seat called the stone pavement in Aramaic, Gabbatha. It was the day of preparation for the Passover. It was the 6th hour, and he says, behold your king. He's making the formal statement. This is why I'm going to kill him, because he says he's a king, therefore it's a political issue. Their response again is they cry out, away with him, crucify him. And Pilate says, again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. You want this, right? Shall I crucify your king? And the crowd says, and the chief priests say, we have no king but Caesar, so he delivered him over to be crucified. It's just rapid fire. By the way, this phrase, we have no king but Caesar, I want you to appreciate how big of a deal that phrase is. It is giant theologically, spiritually. The theological, the position of the Old Testament, of the prophets and the patriarchs, there is only one king of Israel, and that is God. God is the king. He makes himself explicitly clear. I alone am the king of Israel, says the Lord. So when they say this, they are literally, officially stating, both the crowd, because they agree with it, and the chief religious people are saying, we do not have God as our God. That's what they're saying. We are fully divorcing ourselves from the God of Israel. That's what that phrase means. All because they just would not submit to Jesus. They abdicate their relationship with the God of Israel. That's what they're doing. The thing I want you to see in this is, do you notice how Jesus, him going through this, has revealed the hearts of everybody involved? The crowd, crucify him, crucify him. The priests, we have no king, not even God, but Caesar. And Pilate can't get away with compromise or appeasement or delegating it to someone else. He has to make a choice. It is unavoidable. Unavoidable. It's whoever will save their life will lose it, but whoever loses his life. It's not, you must choose. That's not what it says. It says you will choose. Or even better, life will reveal your choice. It's not like they were thinking they were choosing whether or not to save or lose their life. Pilate didn't really, sort of got a sense of that, but certainly the priest or the crowd didn't. But they were. Which do you choose? Now, here's the question I want us to end, kind of swing back. Who are you? Who do you relate to in this story? Are you Pilate? Are you the priest or the crowd? Or are you Jesus? Now, here's the thing. I think most of us will go, well, we're Jesus. Why would you think that? Right? We're not Peter, right? We're not like Peter who denies Jesus. This is the same thing over again. Sure, there's to a degree we agree, we identify with Jesus, and we should, of course. Why do we assume that given enough pressure, we won't also say, a little compromise is not going to hurt. Let's appease the crowd. Let's try and do a little dance, when dealing with the people in our culture so that they both love us and we don't offend them at the same time by the truth. Rather than saying, no, Jesus is king. See, I want to challenge that idea that you assume to be Jesus. Now, by God's grace, many of us, if not all of us, to a certain degree go, yeah, I want to be like Jesus, and I made those choices. What I want you to hear is, by God's grace, that's the case. Because we all at times have done that. We've all chosen sin over righteous relationship with Jesus. We've all compromised. We've all kind of avoided the issue. Whether out of explicit fear, but fear is the motivation. It reveals the priorities of your heart. Who do you fear most? Do you fear God most? It is the beginning of wisdom to fear the Lord over all. Jesus gave his life away for you. Why do we think we automatically are going to be as good as Jesus? Because we're not. Jesus gave away everything. He gave away his status. He gave away his comfort. Gave away his honor. He chose pain. He chose death. He chose giving everything for me and you. Everything. He emptied himself of all for our blessing. So that we would have life. He did that for the joy set before him. Hebrews 12 says, for the joy set before him, he endured the shame and the pain and the humiliation of the cross. He saw ahead by faith that there was coming a day that you and I would be in his family, that we would live with him in eternity. He saw ahead that there would be a day of his resurrection where his life would be taken back up again. He saw ahead that he would be exalted at the right hand of God the Father, and that one day every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. He saw that. And so he was like, this is worth it. You were worth it. But you have to ask yourself, who are you? Are you the guy, And to be aware of those moments in your life where you say, crucify him. Go ahead and punish him for my sin. I'm going to sin, so go ahead and hurt him and instead of me. Those times where you say, I'm going to let Caesar be my master. I'm going to let the world and the priorities of the world master me rather than Jesus master me. You can only serve two masters. You cannot serve two masters. It's Jesus or someone else. Are you going to be afraid of what people think about you? Or are you going to walk with Jesus? Remember, we are more like Peter because of one reason. Because Peter was prayed for by Jesus to repent. And so if that is in your heart to go, I really want to be like Jesus, give thanks to him that you don't act like the crowd all the time. You don't act like Peter. You don't act like Pilate. You don't act like the priests. And say, thank you, Jesus. Change my heart to be more like you. To lay my life down for you and for the truth. To act righteously. And if you don't do it, Jesus, I'm going to be right with the crowd shouting. Let's pray. I got to be honest, Jesus, with you, that there are times I choose sin over you. I know I do. I say that's my master and not you. And God, forgive me of my sin. Change my heart. I acknowledge that that's the case. There are times in which I choose fear over obedience, over acting righteously. And Jesus, again, forgive me of my sin and help me to stand up for what's right. Jesus, there's times in which we dance and try and hedge our bets and couch things in just such a way that we both don't offend, but also stand for you. And it's like sometimes you just can't choose both. You have to be both. You have to either be for you, Jesus, or not. Lord, give us wisdom to say your words carefully, just like you did here, but also not compromise. Thank you for the forgiveness that we desperately need. That you have given your life away that we might stand before your throne.